Welcome to Athletes, Entrepreneurs, the Alumni Journey. I'm Rob Finkelstein, founder and CEO of Alumni Direct, where we've created a platform to help athletes and other alumni network and connect with their different alumni groups, as well as tap into various resources in health and finance and career. But more importantly, this show is all about athletes transitioning out of sports. It's a major issue today between mental health, financial literacy, career options, and we're trying to make a difference. We interview former college and professional athletes, and we talk about their journey from successful playing college or professionally into entrepreneurship or business leadership. So excited today to have Christian Black. How you doing, Christian?
I'm doing well, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. So Christian, he started out at Baylor playing football, and then he went to Northern Iowa, and he played football and baseball there. Ultimately, he got into the commercial insurance space, but always been an entrepreneur at heart. He's got several different businesses that he's started. He is the founder of Rec Now, as well as Ace Lim, and working on some other projects too. Christian, talk about playing sports growing up and how that shaped you leading up into college.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, my first word was ball, Rob. And so, as soon as I could jump on to T-ball and um, other different sports I did, soccer was one of the first sports I played. I mean, I was probably 4 or 5 years old when I played my first organized sports league. And so, just fell in love with the games. Really did. Just loved the strategy. Loved that I could just use my natural God-given athleticism and also just cultivate that athleticism and make it sharper and better and give me something to strive for on a day-to-day basis to improve upon. And so, I could go on and on about how it shaped me in college. It really just gave me the discipline, teamwork, learning to stay within the lines, to follow the rules. I mean, I've learned so many life lessons that have carried over into everyday life. It's pretty amazing. I won't be long-winded about it, but it's been incredible, just a journey of learning for sure. So.
Yeah, well, you're obviously very passionate about it, which is great. And so, did you have a dream of being a professional athlete? If so, what sport?
I did. It was funny, Rob. At first grade, I was kicking a football over a backstop, and I was trying to. And eventually, on my fourth or fifth time, I did. And I just remember how good I felt that I'd set a little mini goal for myself, and I achieved that goal. And I remember walking off the field that day, telling myself, "Hey, I will make it. I will play pro sports one day. I will make it. I don't know how. I'm going to just work hard and see what happens." And sure enough, high school rolls around and I'm 5'2", 98 pounds. I'm the smallest guy in my high school, and I have some running abilities, probably similar to what you had. And so I just thought, hey, I'll go out for the cross country team, and then eventually I'll work my way onto the football team when I grow a little bit, because I still had the dream in the back of my mind. And so senior year comes, and I'd grown. I was 6'3", 165 pounds, and so still just falling in love with punting and seeing the ball spiral through the air and turn over. And I'd been working, by myself on the field and up until then. And so I walked on senior year, and I had 8 punts. My first punt was 58 yards in the air, landed at the 1 yard line. And I thought, man, if that's my first punt, I'm not bad at this. This is something I could really cultivate and get better and better. And so I walked on to Baylor, and I was behind Daniel Sepulveda. He was the number one punter in the nation at the time. Went on to win 2 Super Bowl rings with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a great guy. He really took me under his wing. I learned a lot from him. And then I decided to transfer to Northern Iowa to play football and baseball. Baylor didn't allow dual sports, and I don't think I was that great at baseball to even be a dual sport athlete at Baylor, a D1 school. So moved on to Northern Iowa, had a great year in 2009 and 2008. And the Packers contacted me and had a tryout with them at Pro Day, and then a tryout in Houston at Elkins Field with Alonzo Highsmith, and did well enough to earn a spot on the reserve list. And so it was really cool just to see that dream in first grade come through fruition. I had it in the back of my mind my whole entire life, and it really set me up for my entrepreneurial journey as well. Some of these projects I'm taking are years in the making, but I can, I tell myself, hey, if I set a goal in first grade to become a pro football player, and it happened, why not set these goals as well and give me another, measure, help me strive for something else. And so I've really just been enjoying the ride and learning all I can about business, increasing my business acumen, currently getting my MBA. right now in entrepreneurship. And like you said, started um, 3 companies and have several more ideas on the side. And um, so yeah, it's been great.
No, that's great. That's a great life lesson to everybody. Is here Christian is, he's got this dream as a first grader, and he takes it to fruition, and then takes it all the way through to after sports as well, which we're going to talk a lot more about. So let's go back to college, and we're going to talk about education of transitioning out of sports. When you were at Baylor or at Northern Iowa, were there any type of classes? I don't mean just like a 1 day class, but classes that kind of prepare athletes that once their journey is over, whether it be after college or professional. Did that exist when you were there?
No, Rob, there was not a class, and I know you and I have talked about this at length, and uh, I wish there was, and I really think it needs to be mandatory for every athlete because inevitably athletes just hit a wall. We don't know who we are, we lose our sense of identity and self, and we just feel lost on an island after spending, half our lives on a court or a field. Um, Suddenly, that sports competitiveness is taken away from us, at least in that part of life, and we don't know where to turn. Sometimes we turn to outlets that we shouldn't turn to. I'm actually writing a book about it right now called Mastering the Walk Off. And I've interviewed a handful of athletes, about 50 to 60 athletes. And out of those 50 to 60 athletes, only one athlete has quote unquote mastered the walk off, where they've moved confidently into their next career. More often than not, athletes just struggle, and it takes them a couple of years to get over. We're on such a big stage, and we're elevated and praised around campus, and then all of a sudden we're just I guess you could use the term everyday Joe, and don't know, kind of lose that platform and that's been given to us our whole lives, and we don't know what to do without it. So no, we have not taken a class, and I look forward to helping athletes find a class to take one of these days.
Yeah, no, and we're working with that. We're trying to envision a group of different resource partners across health and wellness and finance and career sales, all that to kind of develop additional curriculum or workshops. I think today probably it might be a little bit better. It depends on the school, but I definitely think that there's a need for that education. When I do this podcast, I pretty much get the same answer for most, that it didn't really exist, but it really would have helped. And so that's something we want to make a difference with. So let's talk a little bit about networking, connecting. Alumni Direct. That's kind of what we're about, is helping people make those connections. How important is it to network and connect while you're playing?
Oh, it's extremely important. I mentioned to you in the past, on my wedding day, I looked at my groomsmen, and all of them were teammates, whether it was from baseball or football, or in fact, my cross country coach was the officiant at my wedding. He married my wife and I. We still keep in touch to this day. He's become really my life coach, and couldn't appreciate Eric Reed enough. But I mean, even today in these businesses that I'm building, I go back to my teammates when I have questions, and they're in their different careers, and I have certain questions that pop up as I'm building these projects, and I have outlets in my former athletes, and sure enough, I mean, not one of them has not answered the phone, has not called me back. They're there, the snap of a finger, just because it's so ingrained in who we are. We're teammates for life. It's not just a 4-year college journey. Teammates are teammates for life, whatever you need, the good, the bad, relationship highs and lows. And so it's been amazing. I can think of 5 guys right now who, if I call them at 2:30 in the morning, they'd be right there for me. And my very first job out of college was through a teammate referral. And so extremely important to stay connected to your teammates post college life, because they're the ones that will help lift your boat and advance you just in life in general.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I mean, I think I like that, teammates for life. I mean, that's a good one. We definitely need to coin that one, right? But I think it's I always talk about too. Even I was talking about this on more recent podcasts about. I was talking to a couple of current college athletes, and they just said that they never have learned to network and connect, and they really wish they would have, even starting back to high school. And I talk about that because high school, like you mentioned, you got your teammates, you got their parents, you got coaches. I mean, people want to help, and I think uh, that's where you got to start building it. You need to build it while you're playing too, because that's when you're still relevant. Sometimes you'll hear stories about these athletes that are so, nose to the grindstone, understandably, but then they didn't make that effort, whether they were afraid to, just to have the time, whatever it might be. But then all of a sudden, when they're out and they're looking for that job and all that, it's not so easy because they haven't built the relationships in that group.
Absolutely, you're spot on. I mean, and let's be honest too. Most athletes spend more time in the field than they do the classroom. Unfortunately, that most athletes think they're going to be pro in college, and they have these long shot dreams. And when reality hits them, they look back and think, "Man, I should have spent a lot more time in the classroom." And they don't have They haven't built the relationships in the classroom like others have. Non-athletes, and really focused on a niche. Um, whether it's business related or whatever industry major they focused on. Um, we didn't really have that because we spent more time on the field, and so they have those networking outlets, and kind of we're just left with our teammates, and that's fine because it's
Right.
teammates are like I just mentioned, the bond there is real, so it's valuable.
Yeah, and I think also it's just, I was talking recently to an athletic director, and I think it's when you talk about, which will segue into my next question about alumni. Just I think people, you have your teammates, which is awesome, but it'd be great to have some of those other relationships as well, whether they're in sports or even non-athletes, because it's just you have to build those, and we always talk about. I talk about with networking connecting is just, be willing to help others. Sometimes people feel like, oh, well, what is it? What do I have to offer that person? That person has all this money. They're very wealthy. I'm just out of school. What can I offer? You never know. I mean, it could be something that helps their kids. It could be something that helps them. It just, just be willing to help others.
Absolutely. No, you're spot on. And the older I get, the more I realize that helping and serving and loving others is that's more fulfilling than anything. And there's a verse out there that says, "He who refreshes will himself be refreshed." And so, absolutely, just helping in general just helps who you are, and helps strengthen your inner being. And so, something that I've really adopted to uh, tried to adopt in coaching and mentoring younger athletes as well. So.
Yeah, that's great. I think that it'd be nice to see more people doing that. So let's kind of shift. I mentioned alumni. When you were at school, both at Baylor and Northern Iowa, was there a movement from the school to bring back alumni athletes, and not just for that one game per se, but or the homecoming game or whatever, golf tournaments, but more so to work and help athletes in mentoring capacity?
No, not at all. I've been up to Baylor once for kind of a Baylor football gathering, where I met with teammates. Just we were all together again, and then Northern Iowa as well. 10 years after the fact of, um, I think we were 13-1 in 2008, and the best team in Northern Iowa history. And so we were brought back to be honored at halftime. But no, we were never asked to mentor other athletes, and something that I think is a big gap. And because we have the wisdom now at our age, I'm 14 years out, and I have the tools to be able to navigate a younger athlete out of that transition, in the right way. And so, um, no, the university has never contacted me, Baylor or Northern Iowa, to help coach younger athletes out of that transition.
Yeah, I think it's something we'd love to see from universities to start doing that. I mean, I bring this up. I was on a call with my university, and I was on with former star football player who was a Hall of Famer at the school and played 10 years in the NFL. And we were talking about, it, and they just said that they really don't do a good job of bringing back mentors. And we both said, hey, tap us in. This guy's like, I'm a Hall of Famer NFL guy. Like, I'm willing to help. I want to do that. So I think, hopefully as time goes on, and that's what we're trying to foster, that idea and the relationships to bring alumni back, and not only to help the current athletes, but help the alumni athletes too, because obviously a lot of alumni athletes struggle. They've been out, 1, 2, 5 years, and it'd be nice to have that guidance as well.
No, absolutely. I mean, and going back to the athlete, and who we are, people might view us as having big egos, and but underneath the surface, Rob, trust me, we have no idea what we're doing. We don't know where our next step in college, especially. We don't know. We just try and, most of us just put on a facade of, hey, I got it all together, but we don't, and we don't know what we're doing. We need help. I remember a sports psychologist came in at Northern Iowa to speak with us, and I had my notebook open. I was taking pages and pages of notes just because I wanted that wisdom. And so, if these older athletes were to come in, I guarantee you these younger athletes would listen to them about the transition. It might not seem like they would be on the outside. They might give off a hard shell kind of surface level, but they're listening to every word because um, as confident as they look on the outside, they're just worried about their future, just like anyone else is. So,
Yeah, no, I definitely see that. So here comes the fun questions. So
sure.
first one is, what advice would you give to freshman Christian?
Ooh, freshman Christian. Um,
10 words or less. We'll make it.
yeah. Pursue football, pursue your passion, but at the same time, sit on the front row of every class because your education is what lasts. Football will fade away in a number of years, but take as many notes and learn as much as you can because life will hit you like a brick if you don't.
That's great. And I'm sure that's going to be one of the chapters of your book, probably as well, right?
Absolutely. Yes, it's already
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the outline.
Dr. Christian, please give us advice on it. So
Yes.
now let's fast forward to what advice would you give the senior Christian?
Sir, what I would give my advice to senior Christian, I would say now that football journey is winding down, to take all the lessons you've learned in athletics, whether it was like I mentioned before, the teamwork, the discipline, the hard work, the competitiveness. Take all those attributes, the positive attributes that you've learned in sports, and use those in your transition to corporate America, to entrepreneurship. You might not know what you're doing half the time, but just like in sports, when you have a question, you go talk to the coach, find someone who knows the answer, and they'll guide you along your next step. And before you know it, you will have grown so much. And I can't tell you how much I've grown since starting this entrepreneurial journey 4 years ago. Just asking questions and doing the research and digging and again just translating my work ethic from sports into this, and it seems to be paying off. So,
No, that's great. So there's the advice for your two selves there. Like if we can go back in time. So now let's talk about the transition out of sports. So here you are, first grade Christian, dreaming about putting the ball over the backstop and dreaming about being a professional athlete. So all those years of playing sports, growing up and kid sports, and then high school, college, and ultimately getting a shot with the Packers. When that was over, talk about that transition into sometime whether you want to say the real world or career, whatever you might say.
oh, sure. I mean, no one had really prepared me for it. Even my dad, who was a professional athlete, I wasn't prepared by him, and really just didn't. Like I said, it hit me like a brick wall, and so I really fell into a kind of a deep depression, and just got very anxious. And I'm so used to giving 110% to whatever I was doing that I didn't know what I was doing, where to go, where to turn to, and so eventually I reached out and cultivated my relationship with Eric Reed, my cross country coach, and he gave me some great guidance. Started getting back to my faith and reading the Word, and a really cool story about that, if you don't mind. That it was one evening I was just distraught, not knowing where to go, and feeling like life was just passing me by, and so I randomly opened up the Bible, and it said. I said, God, speak to me. I don't know what I'm doing right here. I don't know where I'm going. Give me some direction. And randomly opened it to the Bible to Proverbs 3:26, and I said, "Wait a second. 3 was the number that was given to me at Baylor. Number 26 was the number given to me at Northern Iowa, my jersey number." Again, I just randomly opened it. I wasn't looking for that verse, and I was looking for confidence at that time. And the verse goes on to say, "The Lord will be your confidence and keep your foot from being shaken." And here I am, a punter, with my foot. And anyways, I just took that as, "Hey, I'm with you. I'm for you." And we'll keep on moving forward together. And so that really gave me a boost and really planted myself, back to my roots. And that really helped a lot. But just surrounding myself with good people and starting to fill my mind with just with knowledge, and it really helped a lot. So
No, that's great. Yeah, I think we all have those different moments in reaching out and just getting those signs of it's going to be okay, which is really nice.
yeah,
So basically you got I guess in that, so you went through your transition, so a little difficulty and all that. Give a couple words of advice to athletes when they are done, what they should look to do, or even when they're winding down?
Sure. When athletes are done, whether they're winding down um, or just getting through with sports, I would recommend finding a mentor, finding someone who can give you guidance and who has been there before. Eric Reed, who I mentioned, he was a runner in college, and so he had been through it, the transition, and he just gave me simple, practical steps to take, and wasn't forceful about it, but I took those steps and it worked. And so I think finding a mentor, number one. Number two, just um, filling your mind with positive reinforcements, whatever that is, really seems to help a lot and just keep you going. Just focus on the day to day and don't look at the long term. Unless you have another dream, that could take you 15, 20 years, and um, start working on that. Why not? And so, but find that mentor. It's important.
Sure. Let's talk about, now you're, when you got out, you got into insurance, and then you got the entrepreneurial bug, and just really wanted to get in that. Talk about how the athlete skill set or the DNA, which we've kind of covered throughout, but how do you feel that affects, becoming an entrepreneur?
I'd attribute an athlete to becoming an entrepreneur almost 100% of how successful that I've how hard I've worked on these businesses, and like I mentioned, I've taken all the lessons I've learned and cultivated and tailored it into my entrepreneurship journey. And again, if I didn't have that dream that came through fruition from first grade to after senior year in college, I would not be pursuing these goals. But just because of that, I know that goals are possible, and the satisfaction that you feel after achieving the goal, that's what makes the daily pursuit and the grind fun. And no matter how insignificant the step might be in this entrepreneurial journey as I'm building these companies, um, one working on this for 5 minutes and getting one small, making one small accomplishment or one small stride. I know that's one stride that will add to my success in the long run. And so I remember my first punt, Rob, was probably 4 yards, but I ended up my longest punt was in the tryout with the Green Bay Packers, 76 yards, and so it took years to build. And so just like that, I'm approaching this entrepreneurship journey the same way. This will take years to build. I'm still young, and I have so many great people around me pouring into me now that I can't wait to look back in 10, 15 years and say, wow, we did it. All that hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears on the practice field and on the, now at a desk, it really carried over, and mission accomplished. So.
All right, and looking forward to seeing all these things come to fruition. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things you're doing. I mentioned those couple companies, Rec Now and Ace Lim. So talk about what you're doing with those companies and how you're helping others.
Sure, absolutely. So right now, I was actually at a dog park with my dog in Houston, and I was trying to find the tennis ball that's always there. Is that random tennis ball, but it was not there this time around. And so I just had the thought, well, it would be really cool to have a vending machine that sold, uh, dog toys at dog parks. And so that was my first thought. And then my wife and I moved to Tampa, and I was at the beach and had forgotten a beach item. And I said, wow, it'd be really cool if there was a beach vending machine as close to the beach as possible. So where people would not have to drive in, uh, find a parking spot, and then walk to the beach, realize they lost an item, and they would have to get back in their car, drive to a Walgreens or a CVS to pick up the goggles or the sunglasses, or whatever it might be, only to drive back to the beach. It's just a very difficult process. And um, so I said, hey, let's start a business. It's called Rec Now, and so short for recreation. And so I did a survey, and it turns out I was not the only one that forgot an item when going to the beach. It turns out that 85% of people that go to the beach have forgotten an item or regularly forget an item. And so I just approached the city mayor, and he was very open to it. And walked him through my pitch deck, and told him, hey, I'm looking to have a vending machine as close to the ocean as possible. It will be filled with inflatable footballs, sunglasses, goggles, bucket hats, first aid kits, and he was all for it. And so we started our first location about 2 years ago, and then just added a second location a few months ago as well. So it seems to be doing really well. It's really cool for me to walk up to the beach and just see someone using a football that has the Rec Now logo on it, and and using sunglasses and sunscreen, and just knowing that there was a need that was fulfilled there. And so that's Rec Now. And
Before you brought up it's fun. We'll talk real life experience here. So we were at the beach this past weekend and did our usually our run and then catch up with my wife afterward. Circle back around. We walked together. And so we got done and we wanted to like hang out at the beach. And the two things I was missing, I don't know if this is too big for a vending machine, but one, we didn't have any towels. And then the second one was sunscreen. I'm like, okay, like I'm going to get fried if I don't have sunscreen being here in South Florida. So it's funny you brought that up because that was the same thought we had. Okay, so do we need to go to CVS or Walgreens or Target around the corner, and then you had your spot. Now you lose your spot. You got to come back. You waste a half hour, 45 minutes of time that you could have spent at the beach. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have towels, actually, by the way. So if you're ever down in St. Pete, feel free to come buy a towel from us. That was one of the things we kind of struggled with because of the size, but we found a way to make it very compact in the vending machine. So
That's great.
So yeah, and the second business, Rob, is called A-Slim. And what I've noticed, being a dual sport athlete, a punter and a pitcher, um, you know, most athletes have that A-Slim, whether it is your right throwing arm, your left kicking leg. It's that limb that the athlete is most proud of, that accomplishes, um, most goals on the athletic field. And so I think that limb, that arm or leg needs to be emphasized, and you're proud of it as an athlete. And so um, without going into it too much in detail, I've partnered up with someone who I've met, and he has extensive experience at a um, athletic clothing company, and we're partnered up and just to create this brand called A-Slim for athletes. And so just starting a Shopify account and just getting it off the ground, but really just look forward to that challenge as well. And along with my other, I have 310 invention ideas written down, and I can't conquer all of them at once, and plan to sell a lot of ideas when I can. But it's just been a really, really fun to find something I'm passionate about and pursue again, because I've been missing that for a while. For I'd say 12 years of being in insurance, just kind of going through the motions and trying to find that next passion. So really glad I found it.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's such a valuable lesson to not only athletes but just people in general to for that entrepreneurial journey. I mean, I'm on that journey myself, and it's a roller coaster ride, but to see that passion that you have is great, and so excited to see some of these other ideas and what you've already created come to fruition. It'll be great. People definitely need to keep tabs on Christian Black and all that stuff. So how can people find you?
Sure. You can go ahead and I'll give you my phone number, 832-506-6927. Shoot me a text. Email address as well, cblack26143 @gmail.com. And look forward to hearing from you and helping any way I can.
And are there websites for Rec Now and Eastland?
Not yet, in progress.
In progress, yeah. That's a lot of it. We got to get the product out first and then do that. So that's great. And you can find us at alumnidirect.com. And the podcast is on our YouTube channel as well as across all the podcast networks. And this has been great. Every week we have various athletes across all sports, college, professional. And it's similar stories, but there's a lot of athletes that we talk about are really struggling out there. And we really want to make a difference. So we encourage people to watch or listen to the show. I think there's so much great advice that Christian gave today and other athletes on past podcasts and future ones as well. So, Christian, we really appreciate the time today.
Rob, I appreciate you as well. Thank you so
Well,
much.
you're welcome.